guys, we're going to be making a dice roller for the iPhone. So let's open up Xcode and let's create a new project. And we're going to name this project, well, we want view-based. We're going to name it dice roller. And we save it. And here's our dice roller project. Make an icon for the dice roller app. So, and the icon size for the Retina display is approximately 114 by 114. Save it. Rename icon at 2x because it's 2 times larger. Or make that the Retina display. And now I'm going to make a regular icon. And we need to shrink it down for the regular display, which is only 57 by 57 pixels. And we'll save that. And there we go. We got our 2 icons for our app. And now I'm going to import the dice into the, our project. And it will copy them. See, here's all our dice, 1 through 6. Notice how I named it. I named it quite nicely, which I'll show you later why I named it like that. But here we got our app delegate. This is the control center of our application. Now, this gets called when the application first opens, and it just sets our window and views, and we got our view controller right here, and the view controller handles the view, and here's our view controller interface file, and here is our view, and we can add stuff onto the view, like let's add a label. It needs a name, so let's do awesome dice roller app. Now what we're going to do here is you're going to click a button, and a button's going to be right here, and it's going to be called roll dice. And we're going to have 2 images of the dice, so we want a UI image view for each. We're going to make this one dice 1.png, and we just got to size it to good size. That's our first dice. And we'll make a second one. We're going to have 2 dice. Dices. Die. Yes. And now we want to also have a label that says what we got, so first dice, and we want it to be like rolled A1. And we'll copy those again, and we'll make this our second dice. And that one rolled a 1 as well. See, they're both 1. And our interface is all set up now. Let's give it a try. If we press run, it should play it in the simulator. And that's it. We got our little dice, we got our button, we got our labels, except it doesn't do anything yet. We haven't written any code. Alright, so we got the interface. We need to write code now. And how we do that is we need to make an action. So when you click the button, it does something. So we want an IB action. And we're going to do roll a dice. And we also want to put this in the .m file. And this is where your rolling dice code goes. And now we need to hook the button up. You right click the button and it'll show all the actions the button can do, and you just drag that to the file owner. The file owner is the view controller, and we just put roll dice in the view controller so it knows it's there, and we just connect it. So that way whenever you hit this button, it's going to call this roll dice method and this code that's right in here. We haven't added any yet though. Now when we hit roll dice, we want to pick a random number, and then we want to make these image views change to display the correct dice, and then we also want to change these labels. Now to do that, we gotta hook up the labels and the image views. So UI image view, dice 1, and we also want a dice 2. That's the image views. Oh, and we want IB outlet before that. It means we can hook it through the interface. And we also want the same for the labels. So UI label, dice label 1, and dice label 2. And that makes outlets for our controls. And to hook them up, we right-click the file owner, which is the view controller. And when we right-click, we can see these outlets, and we just hook it up. So, dice 1 is that, dice 2 is that, and here are the 2 labels, and second label. Now we got it all hooked up. Now we got to write some code. Now, if we want to do random numbers for the dice, we need to seed a random number. And to seed a random number, we just got to uncomment view to load. View to load gets called right when the view loads. Kind of self-explanatory there. And so we got to do srand. What this does is seed random and time null. This makes the random generator purely random, because when you open the app up, it chooses the current time and it puts that into the random generator. So it's random based on time. And now we need to get some random numbers. So int num is equal to random, 1 to 6, because that's what that's how many are on the dice. But random 6 chooses a number from 0 to 5, and we don't want 0 to 5, so we just gotta add 1. And so that'll pick from 1 to 6. And let's do the same for a second number, number 2. So we got 2 random numbers. Now we need to change the images and the labels. To do that, we do dice 1, see that's the image, we do set image, and I named the images, uniquely, so they'd be easy to use. And so UI image, image named. And what we want to do is we want to pick dice 1, dice 2, dice 3, dice 4, dice 5, or dice 6. And to do that, we just need to do an NS string with format. And we gotta make this dice, and that percentage D represents a number which we add afterward, which is num. What that'll do is if our random number for num is like 3, it'll make it so it spits out a string that says dice3.png, and then it loads that image named dice3png, and it sets the image. It's kind of nice, actually. Now let's do the same for the other dice, which is dice 2, and we want for num2. Now we gotta do the same for the UI labels, which is dice label 1.text. We're setting the text to display the number, like you rolled a 5, rolled a 3, rolled a 2, rolled 1. And to do that, we're going to use the same sort of function here, the string function, and we're going to make it rolled a, and that's for an integer. You rolled that number. And we're going to do the same for label 2 and num2. And that should do it. That's all our code. It's like, 6 lines, something like that. It's very easy. Now this is our dice roller app, and if we click roll dice, bam, it works. 1 and 4, 5 and 5, 1 and 6, 5 and 3, 5 and 5, 3 and 3, 5, 4. And if we close out, you can see we have a little nice icon because we set that at the start. So it's a fairly nice app throughout, but what if we could make it better? Now let's go more advanced. How about an animation of rolling before it actually rolls, the right number? To do that, we're going to have to move this code. And let's make a new function. I'm going to call this rolling, because we're going to have the dice roll before it actually settles. And we're gonna call that, you know, self rolling, and we need to put the code in here, and we're just gonna make it void because we don't need to hook it up to anything. Rolling, and we need to have a certain roll state, so it knows, you know, how far it needs to go through the animation. And when we first open the app, we want to make the roll state equal to 0, so 0. And we probably want to roll like 6 times before it settles. So if we want to roll 6 times, we gotta do, here we go. We're gonna call rolling, and then when rolling is called, it's gonna do if roll state is less than or equal to 5, else, you know, if roll state is equal to 6, then roll state, we want to make it go back to 0 after it's done, you know, rolling. So we also want roll state to increase. We're gonna continually call the rolling function, and we're gonna call that with a special function called perform selector with object with delay. We're not going to use any object, but we're going to use the selector at selector rolling, and we want a delay of maybe 0.2. And what this does is when we roll, let's forget about this stuff right now. What happens when you click roll dice, it's going to do self-rolling, and it's going to call this, and it's going to be 0, so it's going to be less than 5, so it's going to run what's in here, and it's going to up the roll state 1, and then it's going to perform this roll again after 0.2 seconds, and then when it finally hits roll state greater than 5, it'll make roll state equal to 0, and it'll end the roll. And that's when we end the roll, we want to put this right here, you know, the final number it chooses. But then we also want it to display something while it's rolling, so we want to duplicate that, put it here. This needs to be with delay. I think that's right. Nope, I got that wrong. After delay, yeah, needs to be after delay. There we go. And so it's fairly easy. This should add our animation, and if we run it, it should animate it. There we go, animated it. Rolled a 3 and a 5. Rolled a 1 and a 6. Rolled a 2 and a 6. But what happens if you click it lots of times before the animation finishes? It kinda, it's on steroids. A little crazy there. So let's fix that. If we make it so it checks the roll state and make sure it's 0 before it actually starts rolling, that'll fix the, you know, super speed. Because super click it, it doesn't super speed it. There we go. You got a simple, nice dice roller app, very few lines of code, very simple, fairly fast, and a cool looking icon. But hope you enjoyed this tutorial. This is my first. I plan on making more, so stay tuned.